Hey guys, it is Esti and Justin from Not For Long Media.
If you like the video you're about to watch, be sure to like the video itself and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it.
Enjoy the video, and also don't forget to follow us on our socials at Not For Long Media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Welcome back to another episode of Not For Long Media. This is your host, Colin Thompson, joined by two friends of mine, two mentors of mine, two people that I looked up to at a young age and was able to listen to and now, get to hang out with and talk shop with on a semi-monthly, every other month basis. The great Harry Mays and Jason Myrtetus. Harry, how you doing today, brother?
Colin, great to be with you, man.
Thanks for
coming. Spring has sprung.
Yes, it has. You got the golf backdrop going, the Temple hat. A little more pride putting that thing on now. Basketball's in the right direction. Football's in the right direction.
Exactly. I'm hearing good things from spring practice.
Yeah, so am I. I'm excited. Jason Myrtetus, the man, one of the top hockey podcasts, in the world, really. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Trade deadline's in the rear view. Counting down the days to the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Flyers are counting down to the end.
Yeah. Forgot to mention our friends over at Wealth Advisory Services. If you don't know them, you should. WealthAdvisoryServices.com, the official sponsor of us here at Not For Long Media. Check them out. Convenient down the shore in Cape May, convenient in Bucks County in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, right across from the courthouse. Wealth Advisory Services. Check them out. 100 years of experience. All right, Jay, before you get going here, I want to grab you for a few minutes and just talk about the NHL trade deadline. We're going to get into March Madness. We're going to get into NFL trades and free agency. But before we get into really the trade deadline, we have to talk about what happened in Philly here. Claude Giroux, one of the greatest Flyers of all time, a fan favorite, an organization's favorite, been there forever. The games don't feel real without him out there. What does he mean to the franchise? What does his trade mean to really the NHL and the franchise?
Well, I mean, you never wanted it to come to this. And, the great failure here, people look at the package of what they got. They look at it and go, they didn't get enough. Or they look at it and go, okay, they didn't get enough because he didn't open it up to enough teams. But it should have never come to that. It should have been in a position where he was surrounded with the requisite talent, that it didn't come to this situation, but it did. But I mean, as far as, what he accomplished, second in games played, second all time in points, number one in power play points. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's either one or two in most categories between him and Bob Clark. So that tells you, I mean, he's a franchise icon. The numbers and, 1,000 games played, 900 points in those 1,000 games. So what he accomplished as a member of the team from an individual standpoint is right there with any guy that's ever put that jersey on, with the exception of Bob Clark. And then, the trade, he had a full no move clause. So very limited in what they could kind of drive up the price, because you like to get a couple teams in that mix so you can drive up the price. So-and-so is giving us this, you're offering this, you got to come higher. When you don't have that element, and in a full no move clause, the player can determine that he only wants to go to one place, or you can't trade him. It's that simple. And that's what happened here. So Bill Zito, the general manager of Florida, is not a fool. And everybody knows, his agent is telling the general manager, hey, this is the only place he's going to waive to come to. So Chuck Fletcher, did the best he could in what he got. I think he got a good player in Owen Tippett. He was a 10th overall pick in 2017. He's an elite scorer at lower levels. He hasn't quite got there yet at the NHL level, but in 63 games in the AHL, 60 points. So he's a guy that will be on the roster immediately. He's already played, as a matter of fact, and could have an impact down the line. But they have a lot of work to do in the offseason, and you got to move forward without Giroux, and now a new era begins.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do head coaching wise, GM wise. The whole kind of structure, the culture there going down in South Philly is not what it used to be. It seems from the outsider perspective, from listening to all these different hockey podcasts, Missing Curfew, Spitting Chicklets, all the former guys like a Mike Richards or a whomever, Scotty Upshaw, talk about the pride, the passion, Ed Snyder, all the things may not be there again. So let's see what happens. But across the NHL, a lot went down. What a crazy time of year. It was March Madness. Awesome golf tournaments, NHL free agency. If you're an NHL fan, NFL free agency, and trades. And then the NHL trade deadline, a lot of heroics. Claude Giroux gets traded. He was the hottest player on the market, give or take. Another hot name went, like a Marc-Andre Fleury. The Rangers made moves. The Maple Leafs made some moves. Who was a winner from your outside perspective, and who was a player in this trade deadline that you're excited that he went to X team?
Well, I mean, 53 players were moved in 34 trades on just deadline day. And there were obviously more leading up to it. You pointed to one. I think the Marc-Andre Fleury move to Minnesota is a big one, because that was the one thing about the Wild that I didn't like. I just didn't believe in Cam Talbot as the starting goaltender. So they solidify that position with a proven winner, a guy who can still play. I mean, he won a Vezina last year with Las Vegas. So I think that's a really big move. I mean, Giroux to Florida is a really big one. You know, you look at a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, who grabbed Mark Giordano and that move with Seattle to solidify their back end a little bit. Problem is that Toronto still doesn't have goaltending. They didn't do anything to solidify the most important position. Rangers, I think, got better, but I don't know that they're ready to win in the playoffs. But I mean, the teams, you look at Carolina, not tremendously active, don't need to be. They're good. Look at Calgary. They made their move a couple months ago, getting Tyler Toffoli. That's a team I think comes out of the West. I think they beat Colorado in the West. So there's, deadline moves don't always work. Matter of fact, they rarely work because the player has to assimilate. You're taking somebody out of the lineup. So a lot of times they don't work. If you're getting a real special guy that checks a lot of boxes, it can. But other than that, it's a lot of assimilation that doesn't really pay off in the end. So I look at, when you solidify goaltending in Minnesota, they could go on a run. But ultimately, the teams that I like are Carolina, who didn't do much, and Calgary, who didn't do much. So take that kind of for what it is.
I love it. All great points. Jason, go watch your son, support him on the rink. We appreciate you stopping by, man.
See you, boys.
See you, Jay.
It's me and Harry chopping it up. Back to our Temple roots here. Harry, what course is behind you right there on the Zoom?
I forgot. I got a couple of these stock photos that I keep on my desktop for the Swing It and Ding It podcast because we don't do video on that, but we always have a picture taken that gets posted to Instagram. And I just think it looks better if I have whatever course the PGA Tour is going to that week. But as far as this, though, I just pulled something up to get it up there because of, we were rushed for time and all I had was the plain green screen. So I don't even know what's behind me right now.
Hey, we need the great Harry Downey to come on and dissect the course and talk about the undulation. And
right.
There's nothing better than having a couple drinks and you're in AC or wherever, and you look up and it's 1 a.m. and you see the replay of the Harry Downey interview.
Inside golf. Yeah, right.
And he's introducing some course. This happened to me a couple times. And I always send you guys a text, or I send Harry a text. I'm like, this is the best right now. I appreciate you. He's my favorite.
He's got the superintendent on from like Lulu Country Club or something, and they're going through the redesign of the fifth hole or whatever. It's great.
You
stuff.
are looking live at the fifth hole. Yeah. There's so much to get into, man. We got the NHL talk out of the way. I know you're a huge NHL guy.
Thank God. Thank goodness that's over.
Jason's at the barn. Lots to look forward to for him. Happy for him, and I follow him. He's a great guy. I'd love to have him on. Is awesome. So, all right, let's go right to the NFL. Well, then we'll skip to March Madness. I don't even know where to go, Harry. I was like sitting here. I'm like, should I tee him up with 50 different names, or should I just say, what are your thoughts? Like, I don't even know which way to go.
No, I mean, we've known that the NFL has become a 12-month sport for years now. I mean, they basically have something going on to create media attention and buzz basically every month of the year. The off season at times rivals the activity in the regular season to me. And this month has been just off the charts. I mean, I said this last year. I was anticipating a lot of quarterback movement last year. We didn't get as much of it. It all came this year, and it all came within the last, week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, starting out with, Brady unretiring on the day that the brackets come out. I mean, he totally just took that right off the page because everybody's talking about, holy crap, Tom Brady's coming back. He's been retired for 3 days and he's already had enough. He comes back. You get Russell Wilson drama. He finally ends up in Denver. Which I think is a really good move for both teams. Deshaun Watson, that thing has finally, come to fruition. Now we'll see what kind of penalties, if any, get handed down by the NFL, but he's going to be in Cleveland. And, there's a lot of talent on that roster. Now what happens to Baker Mayfield? That's going to be another shoe that gets dropped. Does he end up in Seattle? To me, I think he should just go to Canada. I don't think the NFL would really miss him, but that's just me. Then you get Matt Ryan going from Atlanta to Indianapolis. There was a lot of talk that Watson was going to go to Atlanta and they'd have to move him anyway. I think that is the move of the week, or the 2 weeks to me. Matt Ryan with that Indianapolis offense, with the way they can run the football, control the clock, and they can play defense in a division that I don't really think outside of Tennessee, and I don't think they're all that great either, is all that good. So I think Matt Ryan and the Colts, I mean, to me, that I'm placing a futures bet on an AFC championship right now with the Colts. Carson Wentz goes to Washington. I don't know what that's going to turn out to be, but at least they have somebody that might be able to be vertical and competent at the position for 17 weeks. I mean, he's obviously better than Taylor Heineke, who turned the ball over left and right. Some of the fallout of Trubisky now going to Pittsburgh as a stopgap. They're going to draft somebody. Marcus Mariota to Atlanta, gets reunited with his old offensive coordinator in Tennessee, who's now the head coach, Arthur Smith. That'll be kind of interesting. Rodgers stays put in Green Bay. Here's Aaron Rodgers up in cold, snowy Green Bay, where nobody wants to go play as a free agent, even to go play with him. He loses Devontae Adams a couple of days after he decides to come back and stay. And
he got paid like a quarterback. He got paid like a quarterback.
He did. It's insane. But the NFC, it's like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Everybody else is gone. Think about it.
All the
Dak
Will
Prescott.
Smith.
Yeah, I mean,
all the Will Smith gifts of him standing in the room looking around.
Oh yeah,
all these different teams. I'm not going to comment on the teams as a Carolina Panthers tight end, but they're too funny. They make me laugh. There's so much hilarious to touch on there. I'm going to touch on the first thing. I think Carson Wentz didn't have a horrible year last year. I'll say this: the guy's come off a lot of injuries. I know everyone already has this stigma from the Philly stuff, and he's a poor leader, and all these different things that have come out of different clubhouses.
He had a horrible last 2 games, which were the 2 games that they needed to win.
Yep.
That's fair, but
that matters in the NFL. Absolutely. But I think he threw 8 picks. Like, numbers wise, he had a solid year. I think it was a good bounce back year for him. I get it. I understand that the NFL is, you got to win now. We have to win in Carolina, right? That's just how it goes. But I think it's an interesting fit in Washington. They have some good pieces. They have a good running back. They have a strong O-line. They lose Sheriff to Jacksonville. That brings me my point about Jacksonville. I wouldn't sleep on them this year. I know everyone's Doug P. Philly, a lot of success, knows how to turn things around. They're going to settle the ship there. They spent a ton of money. Brandon Sheriff, really good. Their center is really good. Their Robinson, the tackle, is really good. Evan Ingram's good. Dan Arnold, the other tight end's good. They bring in Christian Kirk, I believe, the receiver. What's his name's coming back at running back? That was a Clemson kid who didn't play last year because he got hurt. Etienne. Yeah. So there's some guys there. I think that's going to be interesting. That division is going to be interesting. Obviously, with Houston, it's another dynamic too. But it's the AFC is loaded, as we know. The NFC is in transition period, I guess, for a lack of a better term. Is that fair?
Right.
So
yeah, it is. And at least Jacksonville now has a coach who knows who number 99 is on the Los Angeles Rams. So they got that going for them,
which is nice. Oh yeah, I don't. Aaron Donald is the greatest football player to ever walk the earth. One of them, top 5, like walking the earth, period. That's ever walked. Like Reggie White, like up there. He plays 30, 40 pounds underweight at his position. Yeah, and he dominates. Absolutely dominates, and he flashes everywhere all the time, and it's been great, honestly, because now the focus, which is the best part of the game. When people say, "How do you watch the game as a player?" Watch the trenches, folks. Like, just watch them, and then let your eyes progress out. Because if you're just staring at the quarterback all the time, you miss 4 or 5 seconds of football every time.
Yeah, if you're following the ball the whole time, you're going to miss a whole lot. You're exactly right. Yeah.
So if you just watch, I'm going to watch the right tackle here. Oh, wow, he just stoned that guy. Oh, wow, it's holding. Oh, wow, he just tripped. Oh, wow, the running back tripped him. Whatever. You get this, you just dig more into the game. It's a part of it. Yeah, I have, I don't even know which way to go. We'll touch on the Eagles. You have obviously in Philly, there's so much to tap on there. What do you think they're going to do with those first 3 draft picks seemingly in a row there in the back half of the teens?
I don't know that they end up actualizing all 3 of them. I think they might make a future trade, for next year in the first round, where the quarterback situation seems to be a little bit more plentiful, if you will, as this far out. But I think the first 2, if they go, what was it, 15, 16, and 19, they have 15 and 16 they use on defense. An edge rusher and maybe a safety or something, something in the back end, I think would be ideal. I don't know that they end up using all 3 though.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see to have all that collateral right there.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is draft 3 starters or trade back and get another starter in the second round too, and still have another first round pick. They're in a good position, obviously, and we're talking Philly because hey, why not? They're right. That's home for me and Harry, and there's so much to discuss there. Want to move to some March Madness chat? There's so
Absolutely.
Much
Yeah, absolutely.
So
they're coming to town on Friday night and Sunday afternoon.
Santa Claus or March Madness?
No, March Madness to the Wells Fargo Center. And you got UNC against UCLA in the nightcap, I believe, on Friday night. If you talk about two bigger brands in college basketball history, I want to know who they are, because that's an epic battle and two of my favorite teams to watch this year in college basketball. I fell in love with both lineups, fell in love with UCLA last year when they were in the play-in game and, practically went all the way. And then UNC this year, I just love their starting 5.
UNC, I saw this, which is, I like following all the sports business accounts. I think it's some fun little stuff that they're starting to bring to the table.
Right.
They brought up UNC had the most social media impressions out of any team. All the big, and they crushed it. I think there was by like millions more. I could be wrong, but
wow,
that was impressive to see what happened, especially with all the stuff going on with Duke. It's great drama what's going on. I picked Nova to win it. I think Nova. I'm biased because of Colin Gillespie is an Archbishop Wood grad. Sure. I know Colin. He used to be the water boy for us at Archbishop Wood. He used to literally hand us water. I would squirt water back at him. His brother James was a D3 All-American, a wider. I know the family well. Dad's a Philadelphia police lieutenant.
He's had an incredible career.
Incredible,
really
right?
Has.
And everyone's like, Colin's the type of kid who's gotten better every single year, like huge leaps and bounds. Like he's doubled. And I remember in high school, he was like a solid high school player, as a younger player. And then all of a sudden, like, you look in the Philadelphia Catholic League Championship and the Newman Gretty point guard's going to Kentucky, and he like crossed them up, and Archbishop Wood, like little Archbishop Wood in the suburbs of Philly, came into Philly and just like ripped the PCL championship at the pleasure out of people's hands. 2 years later, 3-4 years later now, last year Wood was top 15 in the country. They're playing in the state title now. So he really revitalized the program, put some juice behind it, got a Nike sponsorship.
That's
so
awesome.
He's a stud. So I'm biased.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm
They'll
looking
beat
forward.
Michigan.
Yeah, I think they'll beat Michigan. It's been, but that's a huge ratings game too. Nova, Michigan, UNC, UCLA. That
Phil
UNC,
Martelli's on that Michigan coaching staff.
The Hawk will never die. I wonder if the Hawk's going to be there. Will he be swinging his arms the whole time?
Maybe he just goes one arm. Like when they're in the timeout and he puts the other arm up on a guy's shoulder.
That's soft, if you ask me. That's so soft. If you're going to do it, you might as well swing both your arms.
I know. If you're on full scholarship, which I think those guys are, you got to give me both arms. Come on.
Wait, you're telling me they're on a full ride?
I think they're on scholarship, aren't they?
So how'd you pay for your school, son?
Flat my arms.
I flat my arms with the great Phil Martelli in subpar years.
Yeah.
Jameer Nelson.
2004.
How about that? His son
was the year.
Son's a pretty good player for Delaware. I feel bad when he didn't put on the show he wanted to in Pittsburgh.
They're in an interesting bracket, though. I mean, they got Michigan coming up this week, and then they'll get the winner after they beat Michigan. I think they will, of Arizona, Houston, which I think is going to be a fantastic basketball game. Houston can defend.
I made a big mistake not picking Houston to go a little bit farther than they should be.
They are good.
I'm bummed they're leaving the American Athletic.
I know, me too. So am I.
Think about the major blow to the American Athletic Conference. You lose the city of Houston. You lose a Cincinnati in that city, and you lose
Florida, UCF. Yeah.
You lose Disney World. You lose all the different. I mean, that stuff matters to me. Like for all the other sports and football and basketball, like you lose like 3 big cities when it comes to the biggest cities in the state, arguably.
That's all right. We got UT San Antonio. The Roadrunners are coming, man.
We got Charlotte.
That's
coming
right.
in, baby.
The 49ers.
We played there. Did you call that game?
I was there. It poured. The rain came down. I couldn't even see out of the press box. Oh, Lord, there's no way I was going to be on the sidelines during that. It was like a hurricane.
Yeah, my parents like, I don't think we can come down to this game. They were at every game, and
it was unbelievable.
Guys, don't worry. I thought we were going to get stuck there, which is worst nightmare. Play a game, win barely in the rain, and then you get stuck. You're telling me we can't get out?
I know. There was a guy that had to come by with a squeegee to squeegee off the press box windshield. Like Harry Donahue was like, "Where's my squeegee guy?" It's hilarious.
So that guy is the infamous Brian Fallon. He was born into legendary status that day. He was a GA for us, the tight end GA, graduate assistant for those at home that don't know that. And now he's a defensive back coach or assistant defensive back coach for your UPenn Quakers.
Is that right?
Yes.
Man, that's a where are they now that I wasn't anticipating.
Guys,
Man.
guy's an absolute legend. And Ed Foley and I talk about him frequently with the squeegees. It's an unbelievable thing he did. I digress.
How's he doing, by the way, now that you brought him up?
Oh, the great Ed Foley.
Ed Foley, yeah.
He was one of our top podcasts. So we had Foles on. He's doing great, by the way.
Love that guy.
He's doing great. Him and Chris Tabor will do awesome things this year. I was with Chris Tabor. He's our new special teams coach down there. I was with Tabes in Chicago. The guy's full of energy, great juice, great coach, great guy, great man. So he's doing great. But yeah, I was with Foley, which direction I was going to go, and I completely forget.
I'm sorry, I derailed you. Me and Shander used to have a podcast called Derailed because we both do that to each other like 6 times a show. But you know, that Charlotte team had Larry Ogunjobi on it. You remember him?
Yes, he was good.
Where's tackle? He was with the Browns, and then he was with the Bengals last year. And I think they just released him, and he was trying to sign on with Chicago, but didn't pass a physical because something's with his foot, I believe. But he was a big player, big tackle.
Yeah, defensive tackle. I didn't have to worry about him. Thank God. I got a pass interference on a corner route that game. I went up, mossed the guy. They're like, "Wait, you can do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can." It's a little, throw me a little love every once in a while. But they called a push off on the kid. I was like, "Come on, he's 150 pounds. Like, it's not my fault." It was like to me when I was the fat kid in basketball, and they would foul every game because the kids would just run into me. I'm like, "Come on,
right?
Eat some pasta, bud." How about your Jersey City St. Pete Peacocks?
How about that, man? Shaheen Holloway is their coach, and he was a star at Seton Hall in the late 90s, a guard on one of those good Seton Hall teams. And now he's going to probably end up going to Seton Hall to be the head coach because they lost Willard to Maryland just a couple of days ago. So after they probably lose to Purdue, and I think they'll give Purdue all they can handle, he'll probably end up being signed by Seton Hall within a couple of days after that. But what a story. They're a true Cinderella. They got the guy with the porn stash on there and all the hair. I love watching him play. There's a couple of guys from the area too, from the Philadelphia area that are on that roster. Some guy that had some AAU connections with Philadelphia is on there, and another kid from Willingboro, New Jersey, that sits the bench for them. But what a story. See, that's the thing about the tournament. Every year it delivers something like that, which is something cool. I mean, they beat Kentucky. Think about that.
They beat Kentucky. What their point guard is like, literally looks like he's 5'8" out there. And they're just playing great defense. I don't think they have a guy over 6'7".
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
And the guy with the stash you're referring to, he went from before the tournament, he had like 2,000 followers on Instagram. Now he's got 25,000.
2,000 followers. I think that's how many students go to St. Peter's. I mean, it's a small school, man.
2,500. I'm trying to look up the player from Phil. Okay, here you go. Clarence Ruppert, freshman, Philadelphia, PA, the Miller School of Aber. Yeah. Okay. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but yeah, he's a Philly guy. I'm trying to figure out.
There's a South Jersey kid on there too.
There's a Bergen. That kid went to Bergen. Doug Ederett with the stash.
Oh, okay.
He's a Bergen Catholic guy.
He's got some great facial expressions, that kid, man. Very emotional player. I love it.
Do you think Holloway could get a bigger job? Seton Hall's a great job, Big East. I mean, prime Jersey. Don't get me wrong.
Right. He might be able to, but I mean, he's recruiting New York City and North Jersey, Central Jersey as it is. I mean, it'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah, that's a great hit. That's a great fit. I don't know. That guy seems like he's poised. All right, so you mentioned a bunch of teams here. You threw in Arizona, you threw in Houston, you threw in Nova,
and Iowa State too. I got to talk about them.
Hit on Iowa State, Harry. Go.
A kid on Iowa State, Isaiah Brockington. How about him? He's a transfer from Penn State, and he's a Philly kid.
We are not Penn State. We are not Penn State.
Yeah, but they were 2-22 last year as a team. And this guy, TJ Otzelberger, comes on as the head coach, and he just takes over the team, gets a bunch of transfer, got this this guard Kelcher from the University of Minnesota, who played there for 3 years. He got Brockington in from Penn State. And this other kid, Kunch, I think is his last name. He came from Washington State. And all of a sudden they just gel, and they're playing in the toughest conference in the country, which is the Big 12, regardless of what anybody says about the Big 10 and the SEC. The Big 12 is the best basketball conference this year in America. And all of a sudden they might have a shot to go up against Kansas and take out Kansas, but they got to get past who the heck do they have? Iowa State has Miami, which is another great story.
Yes.
From the ACC, Isaiah Wong, who's a Delaware County kid, played at Monsignor Bonner, is playing out of his mind for the Miami Hurricanes.
Imagine, this is the debate we went into the other day. Imagine if a team like Penn State, because we had this debate about football. I forget what podcast I was on, or was it mine? But we're talking about just like how I was disgusted with Penn State, how I was the 5th or 6th tight end they offered, and I was the top tight end in the country, and they offered all these kids from Florida and all these places, and I'm like, what? How do you do that? We just won a state title in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Right?
Like, what are you doing?
I'm right here.
If you just offer me, I'm automatically pretty much all in. Just I almost went to Boston College because Ryan Day was an awesome recruiter, and they had a great campus, and it's Boston, but. Imagine if we almost decided this would, because there was a lot of us, and Rutgers was recruiting all of us, and there was a couple probably D1AA guys that could have got a bump up too if we all decided to go there. This was like in the heyday of Shiano when things were really going well there. Now they're turning back around. Good for them. Imagine if these kids just stayed somewhere at home.
I know.
I mean, how many kids you read about? Now, I know that does a great job scooping them up, but
they do, yeah. But so many of these kids, I think, at least basketball and football wise, want to leave the area. If they're from around, they want to leave and experience something else. And I can't blame them for that.
I'm in the same boat here.
A Power 5 team, offers, let's say they go to West Virginia to play basketball or football or whatever, just to get out of Philadelphia area, whatever. But then they fall on hard times. Maybe they're not playing or whatever. Then they can come back. And then they're all of a sudden, they're knocking on, hey, Temple, you remember me? You recruited me. And, it's like, where were you? Why didn't you just stay here, man?
That's me.
But I get it. Yeah.
No,
I get it though. You wanted to experience something different, You
couldn't have turned it down. I remember one reason I went to Florida was there was one tight end and it was Jordan Reed. I'm like, wait, what?
Okay.
And I went to all these other places and I beat BC 7 tight ends, Bama 7 tight ends, Wisconsin 8 dudes.
Florida only had one.
They went from a pro style to a spread. So they went from all these receiving guys. I mean, from a spread offense, Urban Meyer, to a pro style, Charlie Weiss, West Coast, all that stuff, bigger tight ends like Fasano, Carlson, guys like me. And I'm not like them in the NFL, but like me, that are bigger blockers, can do a little bit of everything. So it was Jordan Reed, and they brought some other defensive linemen over that transitioned to tight end. They're good players in Tevin and Clay Burton, Trey Burton's brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that was Muschamp, right? Wasn't it Muschamp? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I digress. I don't blame you going to the palm trees in Miami, bro.
No, I can't hold it against you.
Yeah.
No.
Now, so all right, how you named a bunch of teams? You said UCLA, Kentucky. We've talked Kentucky lost, UNC, excuse me, Miami. You've mentioned a bunch. Who are 2 teams you really think are poised to make a deep run? I mean, and maybe a winner. Who's someone off the top of your head where you're like, maybe Duke's getting hot? There's some good teams.
Well, the Duke thing is the whole story about Coach K, and they're going to have a tough time with Texas Tech, who plays tremendous defense and can make you look ugly. I mean, I got to go. I just think North Carolina, they get past UCLA, and Jaquez got hurt late in that game for UCLA the other night. He's a real key to what they do. One of the guys I kind of fell in love with watching last year. And it's funny, the 2 teams I bring up, North Carolina and UCLA, they've kept guys together. Like UCLA is bringing back 3 or 4 guys that I remember from their team last year, which in college basketball, a lot of times that doesn't happen. And that's why I kind of, I don't love it as much as I used to, because you can't follow teams like Izzo would bring back teams, at Michigan State 2-3 years in a row where you were like, oh yeah, I remember that guy's a freshman and now he's a junior, and you got to know him a little bit. It's hard to do that now with college basketball. But
do you think it needs to change though, Har? Sorry,
I don't think it can. I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah. Make them stay 3 years if they decide to stay, sort of like the baseball rule.
Yeah. Either you go in high school or you're out in 3.
Right. I mean,
I think it'd be cool though. Like you're saying, like
could they do that? Maybe I guess they could, but see, now there's all these other ways for at least for basketball, because it's not an age restriction like there is football, where you got to be 3 years removed from your high school graduation in order to leave. I guess that's because of being, getting physically ready for the grind of the NFL. But with basketball, there's other ways to make a living now. You don't even have to go to college. If you say, oh, you're going to make me stay 3 years? Well, screw that. I'm going to go to the G League and make some money, or I'm going to go over to Europe, or there's this other league that's starting up. I think Kevin Ollie's involved in it as one of the, I don't know if he's going to coach one of the teams or he's sort of, in the management of it, but there's going to be another league available for high school kids to just go and start earning money without going to college. So I don't know what you do with the rest of college basketball.
It's tough. I guess
it's tough to fix,
because now, okay, my thought is this. Okay, if you get a first round draft, if you get a first round grade by NBA scouts, then you can go. Well, what if I'm okay with being a second rounder and getting paid $1 million because I need to pay for my family, or I need to pay for whatever, or I want to make some money because I'm an adult and I'm making that decision? Then you feel bad for them. But my initial thought is, because in college football, you ask a committee in the NFL to watch your film and see what type of grade you would fall under. And they either say like first or second round grade, third or fourth round grade, or like potential later round undrafted. And then a lot of guys see that, like, if a coach will say, listen, if you're a second round grade, you should go, but if you're not, you shouldn't. So I don't know. There's no quick fix, right? You can't make everybody happy. I think you have to let people be adults and go when they want.
Yeah, you got to let them, have the ability to earn a living. If they're able to do it earlier than normal, so be it. But I'm looking at the bracket here. I love the Carolina in the East, and I'd love to see a Carolina Duke matchup in the Final Four, East versus West. That would mean somebody'd have to take care of Gonzaga, either Arkansas or Duke themselves. And that's going to be a tough ask. But the other brackets, you got Villanova still alive. I'd love to see Villanova play Houston in that Elite Eight game. I think that would be a tremendous basketball game. Defense. And exactly. And I got to see somebody take out Kansas. I am so sick of Kansas in college basketball. Give me Iowa State or Miami in that other bracket to beat Kansas. Maybe Providence can do it in a couple of nights. Who knows? But somebody's got to. I can't stand Kansas. I'm out.
I am pissed off.
Seriously. They are there all the time and they never win anything.
Bill Self. I heard that place again, another podcast I listened to. They said that's the best environment.
Is it?
Yep. I've had Shannon Spake on my own podcast, and Shannon was saying that's the best environment she's ever been to. Cameron Indoor, Duke's incredible, but that's like, it's 10 times the size.
The fog. Yeah.
Welcome to the fog.
That would be a cool trip. That would be a good trip to go see Kansas play at home.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. Watch a little college football team. They're having a rough time too.
Oh yeah.
I was going to
win there.
I was going to rip somebody. I'm not even going to say it. All right. So there's a bunch of different teams going in. Yeah. There's been so many different things. The St. Pete thing's been fun. I had no idea. I never heard of them. Have you heard of them before?
Oh yeah. I knew of St. Peter's, and I always liked their mascot, the peacocks, man. Yeah. The only times I've ever seen a peacock outside of a zoo was when I lived in Tampa, Florida. There's a neighborhood in Tampa, Florida called Hyde Park, I believe it's called. Really nice area. And they just walk the streets in Hyde Park, peacocks. They hang out.
Have you ever seen one on the plane like that video?
No, I have not.
Is that fabricated? Now people are saying that it's fabricated.
It has to be. No?
2022. You don't know what hell goes on planes.
That's true. Oh man.
God bless Spirit and Frontier. God bless those flight attendants, and God bless those pilots.
Absolutely.
All right, Harry. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man.
I said, there's so much going on, and there's so much to talk about. We could talk for days. Appreciate you and Jason coming on. Looking forward to having you guys back on soon.
Absolutely.